Hello, everybody. Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Lia. And we are back with more talk of gilded, plated prisoners and other fun book stories you should read. That was a terrible intro. Yeah. I'm so sorry about that.
Well, welcome to this book we're loving, but it sounds actually kind of not so great. We are talking about Gild by Raven Kennedy, and we have been speed reading through this and also chatting and reading simultaneously with each other.
Yes.
And you know what I actually did during this reading of this book? Told my husband about it. There's been many books in between that I just keep to myself because it's just not his thing. But the creativity in the writing style here. First of all, you guys, if you haven't started the book, start the book. We are going to spoil the entire first book for you today. So read it, pause the show, go read it, then come back and listen.
And I have an adjustment here to my prediction from last episode because I predicted a lot of things in the last episode that I can't even remember what I said.
No.
But I am doing a grand old prediction because this book is going to be a 4-part series.
Yeah.
And we are currently finished book 1 and we've moved on to book 2, and then there's book 3, and then book 4 doesn't actually come out until May 2022, which I will hate.
I know, it's going to be
I cannot do cliffhangers. This is not good for me.
I know.
It's going to cause me anxiety and stress.
Read the third one either. I'm going to read the third one, and then I'm going to have an issue waiting.
But I have... in book 1, they talk about the 6 kingdoms, and we find out that kingdom 6 is snow. That's where King Midas is. And kingdom 5 is King Folke, and it's also snow, but less snowy. Mm-hmm. Fourth kingdom is rot. So it's swamp and it's rotting, and the king there, the power that he has is to rot things. The 5th kingdom, King Folke, his power is that he can duplicate anything once. Mm-hmm. So whenever Midas gives him gold and stuff, he will just duplicate it, and that's how he gets rich. But my prediction is that the 4th king will not be as bad as he is said to be in this first book. And I just want to put it out there because I said it really early on in the first book. Not 3 chapters in because he wasn't even introduced then, but like maybe 5 chapters in kind of something like that. And then another things we're going to talk about a lot today is the freaking ribbons.
There's so many
questions.
So many questions about ribbons. First like half of the book, I had very many questions about the cage in the house. Mm-hmm. And then once we find out more about her ribbons that are like skin attachments to her body.
I see them like skin tags.
I know, that's what you said. When you said skin tag, I was like, God, wash that out of your brain, Jerrica. Wash it out. Stupid Lia and her stupid visualization of skin tags that grow long out of your body and drape on the ground. Like, oh, and can be lifted
Lord. To braid your hair. So
no,
there's going to be skin
touch
tags
me with your fucking
bones.
skin tags. Disgusting. Your skin tags start to glow. They're infected. Get them off.
If they can braid your hair.
Surgically remove it. These skin tags are a disease.
Oh, yes, a disease. We are... yeah, we are questioning the skin tags.
Yes.
A lot.
And we talked very much about this book to each other throughout the time. And we continued to make more and more predictions ourselves, too, throughout the book, too, and that we could share with everybody.
I found the continuity problem.
Of
just
course.
One.
Was it 1 or 2? I feel like there was 2.
I found just the one. I found the one with the freaking fingers. Because King Folke, he's the king of the 5th. And he's been given the opportunity to fuck our dear... Or a gold girl, a gilded king's favored prisoner. And his fingers are most of the time described as thick and stumpy.
Yeah, because he's a fat man.
And then at one point, his fingers are described as bony.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they bony or are they thick and stumpy? Disgusting. He's disgusting.
He's disgusting. And they're giving the gold girl to him if he gives them their army in order to attack the 4th kingdom.
Yep.
And he says, yeah, okay. I'll join your armed forces and let's go attack Fourth Kingdom so I could have sex with your golden girl. Like, very disgusting and irresponsible.
Yeah, and this is my summary of the first bits of the book, which I sent to you, is I hate it. Yeah. I hate that he sells her.
Yeah.
I hate that she has to live in a cage. I hate the lives of the saddles. I hate all of it. This was my summary.
And what did I say back to you? I was like, I think you're supposed to hate it.
You did. You said, I enjoy hating it.
I enjoy hating it because we're supposed to be hating it. We're supposed to hate this for a reason. There's going to be some light at the end of this. I just knew it. I felt it. I was with the author on this. Like, yeah. We got to really hate these guys.
Yes.
And she's got to hate them because if she doesn't...
But she doesn't hate Midas.
No, but she still... Midas. There was a seed of doubt there. And throughout the book also there's seeds of doubt that she has. And then she sort of collects her thoughts and she's like, oh, remember that seed, remember that seed, remember that seed. So it's like this seed garden of doubt that is being built because of the shitty things that he does.
Yeah.
And... this book is written in first person, so we get all of the perspective from Oren only. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of dual perspective books that we've been reading lately, and this is not one of those. And it's not even written in third person. So we get all of the information from Oren herself.
So basically, to summarize what happens in this book, is Oren lives in her cage in King Midas's castle. She drinks wine all the time. He makes her watch him fuck the other royal saddles, which is another word for harem or concubines. And then he occasionally goes and sees her and has sex with her as well. The queen, Melina, hates her. The other saddles hate her. And she is coveted by all the other men, pretty much. They just want to fuck her. And they talk about her like that all the time. It's a lot of, is she gold on the inside? I want to see a golden cunt, so on and so forth. It's a lot of talk about what she looks like and what it would feel like to fuck her golden body, basically.
And King Midas puts her on that pedestal so that people covet her.
And he sells her to King Folke for a plot to use King Folke's army to help his army attack the Fourth Kingdom, which is the Rot Kingdom, where the king's power is apparently the power of rotting things and... nasty. It makes me think when the way they keep describing him as being so awful and so horrible and the rotting, I was like, he's going to be a good guy and this has got to be all rumors. Yeah. So this was my prediction right away there.
Yeah, that was very early on.
Yeah. And then King Folke agrees to this and he's going to have the one night and then they go on and plotting and then at the end of it, King Midas is like, okay, you can have your night with her now. And he brings her down into this party room and she has to like sit on the floor in front of King Folke where he shoves his fingers in her mouth and like does all sorts of nasty things. And when he's about to go out with her to go and fuck her, she basically goes, no, I'm not doing this. And she starts fighting him and he slaps her and then she gets dragged out and then Midas comes and then they go into a room and there's a messenger that comes. Or they go into the corridor and then this messenger comes.
Convenient timing.
And he's like, I want to speak to King Folke alone. And they were all like, no, you can speak in front of us. And then he's like, Midas never sent his army. We attacked the Fourth and we were just slaughtered. And then Oren's guard, Digby, ends up killing King Folke because he's holding Oren with a knife against her throat.
But all of this was true. That
it was true, and
it was set up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, haha, I would never actually sell my gold girl.
And I would never actually send my army against the Fourth Kingdom because you don't go up against them. It's crazy. Their head of the army is called Rip because he's well known for ripping the heads of his enemies, which is nasty.
And his explanation for why he did this was that he found out that Folke was a skin... what did they call this?
Skin trader. So he would sell people. But, I mean, this is ridiculous because Midas owns his saddles. So, I mean, it's so hypocritical. I don't even know where to begin. Where did he buy them
from?
He was apparently gifted 3 of them by his wife for his first birthday or first anniversary or something. Yeah. Anyways... nasty, all of it nasty. And
so then he's like
10 years
but he says to Oren, I did this for you.
Yeah.
And then Oren's like,
I would never let anyone fuck you and so on and so
she forgives him
she sleeps
immediately
with him.
For pretend selling her and manipulating her. And then they sleep together that night and she's like also in love.
Yeah, she's so in love. She's so in love with Midas, and it's disgusting how in love with Midas she is.
So
and then Midas packs up and he leaves for the Fifth Kingdom because he needs to go and establish and rule there now when their king's dead, until his eldest child can come into age and take over the crown, I guess, which I don't think Midas will let happen at all. He's planning on taking over the Fifth Kingdom fully, I'm
himself,
sure.
yeah.
And he leaves Oren behind, but it's he doesn't he travels with a decoy, so even his queen Melina thinks that Oren has left with Midas to go to the Fifth. And then it's time for Oren, together with the 12 of his favorite saddles, to go and join him in the Fifth Kingdom, and they travel in this procession. And Oren, I like her and I don't, because she's all like, I want to ride, and I understand the saddles are like, fucking hell, like towards the end they're like, we were delayed because she wanted to ride because she wanted this, because we couldn't travel, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And it's true, because but she's so naive, and she's being kept so much in that cage that she's like,
exactly,
she doesn't understand. So it's slow going for them to go, and then they're in this village. She makes friends with this She makes friends with one of her guards, and in this village it's in the town. It's like right in the beginning when they go through the town, the High Bell town.
And that's where I did my next prediction.
Yeah. And there's these, they go through the slums, and she's like, Midas has all of this gold. Why is he not making his whole kingdom rich? Like, why are the people still living like this? Because apparently she grew up in the slums. So she takes all the money she has and she gives them to the children. And then...
and we find out more about her here, too, because in the story, we go back into her memory and hear about how Midas found her on the streets in the slums, and he's protecting her.
Yep.
And then that's how they developed their relationship. So she met him, now we know this only a little bit later, before he knew the queen.
Yep.
So they knew each other first, and then he was... had this plan to then be with the queen, because she didn't have any, or not queen, but princess,
the princess,
any powers. So
and we find out that you have to have magical powers in order to rule.
Yes.
In this kingdom.
And so...
or in this world.
So then we sort of warm up to the relationship because they were together before the queen.
Yeah,
I mean, there's little trinkets here and there that make us think that maybe it's going to turn around for Midas, and you thought so too. But so my prediction happened when she was in the slums, and well, actually before I said this might be wild, and you're like, do go on.
Yeah.
And I said, I think our little orphan girl is a relative or possible lost princess of a kingdom. Midas doesn't do anything without an elaborate plan, and also seems to be best with his outwitting, even to those close, like his own wife. I don't think he helped her when she was a lost child from the good of his heart, but instead found a piece to his chessboard. And so I go on and on here of what I think is going to happen, but more or less that was my prediction. And then when she's in the slums and she gives her gold to the little kids, and then she calls them princes and princesses, and they're like, princes and princesses don't exist in the slums, and she said hidden ones do. And I was like, foreshadowing. Dun, 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 dun.
And then, yeah, and then they travel some more, and it's like weeks and weeks in the snow and the camping and all of this and that, and she develops quite a strong friendship with one of her guards, Sail.
I know, I love them.
And then they get attacked at one point by snow pirates. And snow pirates are no good. Don't like snow pirates.
No.
Really do not like snow pirates.
They're really bad.
They're really bad. And they kill Sail in front of her, and then...
This is where we learn more about her ribbons.
Yeah. And then they're dragged onto this pirate ship, and they're like, haha, we found Midas's golden cunt. We're going to use her up and sell her to the highest bidder.
And they also plan to just rape all of the saddles.
Yeah. And then...
we were bracing ourselves for a lot of rape here.
Yeah. And then they bring Sail's body up onto the ship, and they tie him to the mast, and we're like, haha, our sailless ship finally has a sail. And then she goes nuts trying to get this body down. And honestly, this lost me a little bit, because I was like, fuck, use your, strength and your power to help yourself instead of helping a dead body come down. Like,
yeah, because he's not him anymore.
Like, disrespecting his body. But at the end of the day, maybe it's not the best idea. But regardless, she manages not to get raped, because before they have time to rape her, they get a message with this hawk, and it says that someone's coming within the hour, and all the pirates have to kind of clean up, I guess, and then they make all the saddles, and Oren go and help the cook make food. And then when they come on board, it turns out it's this commander of the 4th Kingdom's army there with some of his soldiers. And the pirate captain, Fane, he tries to keep Oren out of sight, so he sends all the other saddles in, because he makes a deal with this commander that he's going to get to buy all of King Midas's people that was stolen by the pirates for a massive chest of gold. And he tries... Well, he doesn't give him very much choice in it, because he took all the other messages that Captain Fane tried to send out, saying that he had all of Midas's saddles and stuff. But he gives him a lot of money anyways to buy them all, and then they eat food together, and then at the end of it, Captain Fane is like trying to keep Oren on his ship and not give her over with the others, and the commander of the army is like, it means everyone, her too, and the captain's like, fuck, but I want to have my fun. And then he grabs her and this saddle, Rissa, and then there's rape. And I hate rape. I hate all of it. But I was really, really surprised by this author's choice to not have Oren get raped, because there's so many times leading up to this where this Captain Fane is like, I'm going to have you a cunt, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when he has like time limits, he chooses to rape the other girl instead of her.
While she watches.
And then here comes massive ass twist, because Oren gets all furious, and then the sun comes out. And when the sun comes out, she slaps her hand on his neck, and he turns solid gold. It's her. She's the one with the fucking Midas touch.
She is the gold giver. And I love this part so much, where she's like, you know what? She does a lot of good things in this book. Like, she stands up for the saddles, even though they're awful to her. Mm-hmm. She like helps out the orphan kids, because she feels, sympathy for them, because she was in their situation also before. And she befriends some of the guards who are otherwise quite cold. And no matter what, she doesn't give up on trying to be friendly to people. Like, she is never bitchy.
No.
Even though she's completely spoiled and all this kind of stuff, she's never bitchy. And she's always trying to save people. So I appreciate that aspect of her, no matter how naive it is at some points. Mm-hmm. So even when Rissa is getting raped by this awful, awful pirate captain.
With wooden teeth, teeth.
Yeah.
Yuck.
And he's hurting her, and she's crying, and he's
getting off on pain. Which, honestly, though...
Because she tried to act. She was like, don't worry, Oren, this is my job. Like, go fuck yourself, and you watch if you need to watch. But I am I am a royal saddle. I can do anything, because I can put myself in the role.
Yeah, and she tries to tell Oren, it's like, this is a performance. Like, give a performance.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is going to sound bad, but... when it comes to rape, from what I understand of rape, it's usually not ever really about sexual satisfaction, gratification. It's more about power over someone.
Power and control.
So the fact that he gets off on her being in as much pain as possible, and him inflicting pain on her, kind of makes it more believable, and makes the rape more awful, but also probably truer to reality in a way.
So while his dick is still hard, he turns to gold, and then her and Rissa have to find a way to get this very, very dead man.
And now very heavy too.
And now a very heavy man. I like the part where they notice that the boards are sinking underneath him.
So he's like solid gold. He's now heavy, and you're like, shit, we're gonna have to hide him. This is not good. So they try to push him out the window. It takes a lot of power to get him out there, and then they throw the money after, and then they pretend and that he took the money and ran.
They kind of believe them for a little minute.
This plot does not work for very long, but then the commander is like, look, I bought them, so give them here. And then they get to go with the fourth commander.
Yeah.
And now they've gone from captive to captive to captive. So yeah, and that's pretty much where it ends off. She's now with the Fourth Kingdom army. So she went from a gilded cage to a pirate prisoner to now a prisoner of the Fourth Army.
Yes.
And this is where we're at. And I have to say, I did not enjoy this book that much. I only gave it 3 stars, but I started reading the second book immediately. And after reading about half of the second book, I loved the first book. Because as much as I hated it, and as much as it was backward, and as much as it was horrible for women everywhere, and that her love for Midas, it made me so angry, it all makes sense now in book 2. So I would say read it and then continue reading into book 2.
And it's only 300 pages, the first book. Mm-hmm. And I say that, and yes, 300 sounds a lot, but it's actually not. You will speed read through this and then go into the second book. And even just 20% into the second book, everything from the first book starts to make more sense. We start to find out more information from Oren's perspective. Mm-hmm. And also her captor and that whole army is teaching her a different way of life.
And in the second book, we get Queen Melina's perspective, and we also get King Midas at one point. So they're introducing a couple of more narrators into it, which is really interesting because they're not together.
Yeah.
And so far, it's really good. So I would say go ahead and read it. And
definitely.
We are continuing reading this gold-plated prisoner series.
Let us know your ribbon thoughts.
God, are they skin tags? Is there bone in there? How does it work? They glow.
It's glowing.
I don't know, man. They can be sharp like knives, but also soft enough to stroke. And they move on their own volition, and she can control them.
That's where your second continuity came in. It was the gold.
They can tie knots.
Yeah.
But if you tie them in knots, they cannot untie themselves. So yeah, it's all good. Tell us all your skin ribbon thoughts. And we have moved on to another book while we're reading this one. So we're currently in 2 books at the same time, which is not that crazy. We've done that before. The next book is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody.
Yes.
And I found 4 covers. They're very similar to each other, but it's basically a house of cards.
Yeah.
With this castle in the background, or this city like skyline in the background. The other one had like playing cards flying around. Mm. This is the one I have for the audiobook that I'm listening to, which it's like an Ace of Spades. It's called Ace of Shades, but it's an Ace of Spades. Mm. And the tagline is take a card and stake your life. And then the last one is just different backgrounds, basically. Mm. Based on this, I would probably pick it up to want to know what it's about, but I would think it would be about gambling, and that's not really my cup of tea.
No, I don't love gambling stuff either,
I'm not sure I would pick this one up based on its cover, but I did pick it up based on its reviews, and particularly reviews by others, because everyone's like, so good. So good.
Yeah,
good.
And we're listening to it in Storytel, and in Storytel, it's not so often that people leave like reviews that are more than it's a good or it's okay, you know, like super simple 2-3 words kind of thing. But people were like, give this book a chance. This was a fantastic read. This blew my mind. This was way different than I thought it was going to be. And then even though in the description it's not the kind of book that I normally read either, I was like, you know what, these reviews swayed me. Let's listen.
I mean, I would probably read this kind of book. But this book, our main girl is N. Not the letter N. They actually spell it E-N-N-E.
Exactly.
And she's going to the City of Sin, also known as New Rain, to find her mother, Lourdes Alfaro, who has gone missing. Her only clue on how to find her is a letter with the name Levi Glacier, who is supposed to help her. Once her boat lands in New Rain, Anne is immediately in trouble when she asks law enforcement to help her find her mother, and upon hearing her mother's name, they're like, oh, how do you know her? And start following her. She's like, oh shit. And this boy Chess, who had been hassled by law enforcement before she went up to ask a question, he helps her get away, and he brings her to the Irons headquarters, where Levi Glacier will be in an hour. Mm-hmm. And Levi at this time is meeting with the chief of police to settle his debt to him from a Ponzi scheme that he's been running. For this other lady, Bianca.
Yes.
And he seems to be personally paying people back. He doesn't seem to be paying them back from the scheme. He seems to be actually making the money and paying people back.
Yeah.
And the police has figured out that this is a scheme, but since he got paid back, he doesn't really care, and he seems to be under the impression that Levi will be killed anyways, because the last person he owes money is this Caesar guy. The last investor, he's saying, the police is like, well, if I figured it out, this other guy is pretty smart, he would probably figure it out too. And he owes him 10,000 volts. So currency in this world is volts. And the man is Caesar Taurus, I think is his name. And back at the headquarters when Levi meets, and he first tries to take her stuff. He's like, screw you, I'm not helping you. I'm not in the business of helping ladies. And then he finds the letter from Lords, and we get a little bit of backstory that Lords did him a favor at one point, so he owes her. So he decides to help N if she pays him. Ideally, the 10,000 volts he owns Caesar Taurus. Yeah. And he still thinks that Lords is most likely dead.
Yeah.
But he decides he's going to get at least a little bit of money from him. And Lords was a journalist who's a monarchist, and that is dangerous because this is a republic. And the revolution happened 25 years ago, and all the monarchs were beheaded. So I predict adventure. I predict love and fantastic narration going forward. I predict excellent phrases like, he had a look like he wanted to sell you something and a smile that made you want to buy it, which is in the first 3 chapters. And I predict the Lords will be alive, but that Levi and N and the other 3, Chess Jack and the girl, I can't remember her name. I keep meaning to write it down every time I hear it, but I can't remember it. They will get in deep, deep in trouble before this all gets resolved. And I also want to say that it's absolutely nuts that both Levi and N are 17 and that Levi started his street gang at age 12.
I know. I was going to say, I have a little bit of an issue with the fact that the last time he saw Lords was 6 years ago.
Yeah, when he was all of 11. Yeah.
And she helped him out after he got caught doing some
scamming someone.
Yeah. I was like, an 11-year, this is okay. But, and then Lords writes down his name. He's like a child.
Yeah. But I mean, clearly she knew that he's grown, like he's risen in ranks, and like he's risen in the ranks of the underworld of the City of Sin. But and one thing to keep in mind with this book is apparently that some of the rules that they've been established in these first chapters, like you have powers in this world, and you get them from your family. So N is a psalter, which means she's a dancer. Okay. But she's not one of the best dancing families. She's an okay dancing family. And her second, or the split, they call it the bloodline and the split line. And the split is the lesser of, if your father has one family and this is your dominant trait, then you get that name as your last name. And then the split one, it would then be from your other parent. And her other one is arithmetics. And she's like, I can barely count without using my fingers. So not so strong, this one.
No.
So this is fun. It's an interesting thing, but it means that everyone has talents, basically, that come from their families. And you will know what talent they have based on their last names.
That's cool.
It's interesting. I like it. So we're going to get back to reading these 2 books because, well, they will not read themselves.
No.
Or they will read themselves to us, straight into our ears, through our headphones.
Thank you, AirPods.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia and Theme music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.